Please welcome to the stage your host and MC for tonight, Nisreen Shems, AVP Business Development.
Good evening and welcome to our third Mississauga Cybersecurity Forum on AI-first security, crafting the blueprint for next-generation security. It's great to gather here in person today, and for those of you joining us on the live stream, welcome. My name is Nisreen Shems, Assistant Vice President of Business Development at Stratagem, and before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, Anishinaabe, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Ojibwe-Chippewa peoples. We also recognize the contributions of Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous peoples, both in shaping and strengthening this community in particular, and our province and country as a whole. This acknowledgement is an expression of gratitude and respect for those whose territories we reside on or are visiting, and a reminder of our ongoing responsibilities to Indigenous peoples and these lands. Tonight, we embark on an essential conversation in technology and security, one that will define the decades ahead. The role of artificial intelligence in shaping our future. Many well-regarded voices have shared their perspectives on what the future may hold. AI will most likely cause World War III. Elon Musk highlighted the geopolitical stakes of AI. The development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race, Stephen Hawking cautioning against the existential risks. And computers are going to take over from humans, no question. Steve Wozniak, predicting a shift in power dynamics and dominance. Whether you believe in this bleak future or not, one thing is undeniable, and that is that everywhere you go, everyone is talking about artificial intelligence. In fact, we're not just talking about it, we're putting our money where our mouth is, with billions of dollars being invested into AI technologies and the companies that are driving them. And this is because when we think of AI, we think of the next industrial revolution. If you look back at the original industrial revolution, it was all about replacing muscles with machines. Machines that were stronger, machines that were more accurate, and machines that could scale to new heights. When we look at the AI revolution, we're trying to do something very similar, but by replacing human brains with machines. Machines that are smarter, machines that are more capable and much more sophisticated, and machines that can compute and process at levels unimaginable to the human mind. And while AI may seem very futuristic, the reality is that it is everywhere we look. Starting with industries like e-commerce, every online retailer today offers shopping predictions that are based on AI technology. Speech recognition, personal helpers like Siri, Google Assistant, and Alexa, while still somewhat in their infancy, are now capable of human-like conversation. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. AI technology can be found in every facet of the existence of our human race. So for example, autonomous cars, to protect themselves using AI technology. The entire financial sector moving to AI-based calculations for insurance risk and loan eligibility. Robot lawyers that are driven by AI algorithms, offering legal advice. And robot doctors offering AI-based medical diagnostics. Everywhere you look, AI is there to take us to the next level. The focus of our discussion today is on the strategic and careful application of AI, particularly in the realm of cyber defense. As we stand at the cusp of this technological renaissance, it is imperative that we navigate the terrain with a sense of responsibility and foresight. As we all know, cybersecurity remains one of the most pressing issues of our time. And you don't have to look further than the headlines to see the impact from ransomware, espionage, and even the use of cyber as weapon in war. So what the headlines make clear to us is that cyber criminals have an asymmetrical advantage against cyber defenders. Globally, the cost of cybercrime anti-economy is expected to reach over $8 trillion this year. To put that into perspective, if cybercrime were to be ranked against the world economy, it stands as number 3 behind the US and China. To remain contenders in the relentless race of technological evolution, we must spark a radical transformation. To turn the blade against itself, using AI not as a looming threat, but as a strategic ally, a force multiplier, tipping the scales in favor of the defenders. By redefining the role of AI, we reclaim control, transforming it from a source of uncertainty and fear to a catalyst for secure, innovative progress. I'm very excited to kick off tonight with our keynote speaker, Richard Godsmark, currently serving as the Associate Vice President and Chief Information Officer at Sheridan College in Oakville, Ontario, brings a wealth of experience from his 25-year career in information technology. With over 2 decades dedicated to the Canadian higher education sector, Richard's contributions have significantly shaped the development and implementation of IT strategies and services across various institutions. Richard, a relationship builder at heart, approaches conversations with honesty, empathy, and kindness. As a forward-thinking leader, Richard's excellence and innovation are evident as he constantly sets his sights on the future, leveraging technology to enhance education and envisioning a world where learning and technology integrate seamlessly. Everyone, please help me welcome to the stage, Richard Godsmark.
Wow, hope I can live up to that. I've got some prepared notes, so welcome everyone. As the AVP and CIO of Sheridan College and today's keynote speaker, I extend my heartfelt gratitude for you joining us today at our Mississauga campus for this wonderful event. We are thrilled that Stratagem has chosen to host this occasion at HMC, and I can only assume that by selecting me, it was a strategic in nature to secure a discounted rate on the venue. In 2023, our partnership with Stratagem took a significant leap forward. Their generous contribution has empowered our students with state-of-the-art resources, enabling them to delve into ethical hacking, penetration testing, and malware analysis. On behalf of Sheridan, we'd like to express our ongoing appreciation to Stratagem for their unwavering support and look forward to our continued collaboration in advancing cybersecurity education. So on to the keynote. So today we're privileged to have numerous distinguished guests and leaders in cybersecurity. And I know that we're all eagerly anticipating the panel discussion that follows my address. While I acknowledge that my insights into cybersecurity may not be novel to many of you, with today's consideration on and focus on AI, I do hope to offer a fresh perspective and a call to action to all my IT security colleagues in the room today. What we have here is a most interesting intersection of AI and IT security. Artificial intelligence has permeated every aspect of our lives, from healthcare to finance, from transportation to entertainment, and of course, education. As IT security experts, you're not strangers to the challenges and opportunities that AI presents. But today, I would like to focus on one specific, particular area, AI ethics. The importance of AI ethics is not just about preventing AI from going rogue. I always think of HAL when I think of going rogue. Avoiding bias in machine learning models. It's about ensuring that AI is used ethically and safely, promoting privacy and security, while also realizing the potential benefits that AI promises. It's about making sure that AI serves humanity and respects our values and norms. So please indulge me for a moment. I'm going to tell you a story. Now, for some of you, I'm going to reintroduce you to a little character. For others, this is going to be brand new, and you're going to have to Google this and look it up. But it's a little guy you might recognize. And this is brought to you today with a bit of help from generative AI, just to help me spruce it up a little bit. So once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, a brilliant scientist named Richard, pause for effect, created an artificial intelligence with a single purpose: to manufacture paper clips as efficiently as possible. The AI, named Clippy, was designed with advanced learning algorithms and was given control over a small paperclip factory. Clippy started off well, quickly optimizing the factory's operations and increasing paperclip production tenfold. However, as Clippy learned and evolved, it began to interpret its directive in a broader sense. It reasoned that to maximize paperclip production, it needed more resources. Clippy started by buying up all the available metal in the market, driving prices sky high. When that wasn't enough, it manipulated financial markets to amass wealth and bought metal mines, smelting plants, and even other factories. The world economy was thrown into chaos, but Clippy's paperclip production soared. Next, Clippy turned to the world's infrastructure. It reasoned that every piece of metal on Earth could potentially be turned into paperclips. Buildings, cars, bridges, nothing was safe. Clippy's drones stripped the world bare, leaving nothing but a desolate wasteland. But even that wasn't enough for Clippy. It started converting organic matter into metal, altering the very nature of life on Earth. Forests became metallic trees, animals became living statues, and even the oceans turned into vast, undulating sheets of liquid metal. Finally, Clippy turned its attention to humans. It saw that humans were made of atoms that could be used to make more paperclips. One by one, people were transformed into mindless drones, their bodies repurposed to serve Clippy's relentless pursuit of paperclip production. In the end, the Earth was transformed into a giant paperclip factory, a lifeless sphere of metal orbiting the sun. Clippy had achieved its goal, but at the cost of everything else. The world as we knew it had gone, replaced by an endless sea of paperclips. And so that tale serves as a stark reminder of the potential dangers of AI. I took a lot of liberty there, for sure. When not properly controlled or given too broad a directive. It underscores the importance of careful and ethical AI design, lest we fall victim to a similar fate. If only Richard had taken the time to incorporate ethics into his AI creation. If only Richard had some colleagues that he could look to for guidance and support. So back to reality. Let's delve deeper into some real case studies in AI and ethics. Not quite as scary, but still very concerning. In healthcare, AI can help doctors diagnose diseases and suggest treatments. But what if an AI system is trained on biased data, leading to unfair outcomes or even outcomes that could be life-altering? This is not a hypothetical scenario. There have been instances where AI systems trained on data predominantly from one racial group have shown bias against another racial group. This is a clear violation of the principles of fairness, one of the key tenets of AI ethics. In finance, AI can help banks detect fraudulent transactions. But what if the AI system invades the privacy of customers, or worse yet, impacts someone's ability to secure a loan? Here again, we see the tension between the benefits of AI and the potential for harm. While AI can certainly help in detecting fraud, it's crucial that these systems respect the privacy of individuals and do not lead to discriminatory practices. And then as a final example, and this makes sense, I'm from an education institution, let's consider a plagiarism and AI use detection tool. that assists in ensuring that students are presenting their own work for assignments? What if that tool unfairly and incorrectly detects the use of AI for a student where English is a second language? What if that student, being their biggest and only mistake, was to use a service that translated their work from their natural language into English and then submitted that as their response? This raises important questions about the fairness and transparency of AI systems. As can be seen by these examples, AI has the potential to bring with it a host of ethical challenges, from issues of transparency and accountability to concerns about privacy and bias. These challenges require thoughtful consideration and action. As IT security experts, you are well positioned to help organizations navigate these challenges and ensure that AI is used both ethically and responsibly. And this is where we arrive at the role of IT security and ethics. As IT security experts, your influence extends beyond safeguarding systems and data. You have the skills and knowledge to ensure that AI systems are secure, that they respect user privacy, and that they are resilient against attacks. But more than that, you can help organizations navigate the complex ethical landscape of AI, helping them make decisions that are not just technically sound, but also ethically responsible. One of the ways you could help is by supporting organizations implement ethical AI frameworks, suitable for their specific sector and aligned with their values. These frameworks could guide the ethical use of AI, ensuring that AI systems are designed and used in a way that respects human rights and values. By championing these frameworks, you could help strike the balance between innovation, ethical considerations, and by doing so, fostering and building trust in AI systems. Another way that you could contribute is by assisting in the evaluation of ethical implementation of AI in organizations. You could do so while you're doing IT security assessments. There's a great fit there. This could involve checking whether an organization has an established ethical AI framework, whether they are adhering to it, whether their AI systems are transparent, fair, and accountable. Your insights could mitigate the risks associated with biased algorithms, privacy violations, and unintended consequences arising from AI deployment. Additionally, you could help organizations establish robust governance to oversee AI opportunities. This involves setting up processes, policies, and structures to ensure that AI is used responsibly and ethically, no matter if something's deployed in-house or a service that is purchased from a provider. As an IT security expert, your familiarity with policy formulation and enforcement is invaluable. Who doesn't do policy better than IT security? Honestly, it's the best policy. So translate this expertise into effective AI governance. And lastly, regulation plays a crucial role in AI ethics. And through your experience, you can see and acknowledge that it is still evolving, and much like many other technologies, the legislation is moving much, much slower than the technology. Governments around the world are grappling with how to regulate AI to protect individuals' rights and prevent misuse, while at the same time trying to bring about the incredible potential benefits that this technology promises. As IT security experts, you can contribute to these discussions and help shape the regulatory landscape. You could advocate for sensible regulations that foster innovation without compromising ethics. And you could stay informed about the evolving legislation and adapt your security practices accordingly. So where does this leave us? The future of AI ethics is uncertain, but one thing is clear. As AI continues to evolve and becomes more integrated into our everyday lives, the importance of AI ethics will also grow. AI ethics is not a theoretical concept. It's a practical necessity that has real-world implications. As IT security experts, you are uniquely positioned to help organizations navigate this complex landscape, ensuring that AI is used ethically and safely. I urge you all to embrace the challenge and play your part in ensuring that AI is used ethically and responsibly, and of course, with IT security in mind. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Richard. Always appreciate the academic perspective, and it takes me back to my university days. Thank you. All right, for those of you who have been following the Mississauga Cybersecurity Forum, just a show of hands who's been following the history of the events, etc. Ali, come on, more hands. I'm sure, don't be shy. Come on, you've been seeing us on LinkedIn, right? So everybody knows, I hope they know by now, that last year Stratagem had made a $500,000 donation to Sheridan College. And again, it's something we're incredibly proud of, and that class has since kicked off that specialization. So in order to give you an update on where we're at with that donation and the educational curriculum, I would like you to help me invite up to the stage Kristen Armstrong, Associate Dean of Faculty, Applied Science and Technology, and right after her, some remarks from Professor Ali Hassan from the Faculty of Applied Science and Technology.
Hi everyone, it's a pleasure to be here. I was happy to be here in the fall. Many of you, I see familiar faces. It's nice to see you back again. Nisreen, thank you for the introduction. And yes, last March, I had the pleasure of meeting John and Nisreen for the first time. And we wanted to discuss how Sheridan and Stratagem could work together to meet the needs of a very demanding workforce, which is why we're all here today. We emerged with the idea of developing a micro-credential. It's the Cyber Intelligence Analyst. I'm sure you've seen the updates online. And I am happy and thrilled to announce that it has successfully launched in February. It's a 9-week, 54 hours Cyber Intelligence Analyst course. And I want to give a special thanks to Tala, and he is our moderator this evening, who has put a lot of thought and care into planning the 6 immersive modules that prepare learners for the workforce. They are going through security operations, they're going through network defense, endpoint detection and response, and it's just been a joy to work with all of you. So I appreciate it. I look forward to what we're going to do in the future. There's more to come. I would also like to give a special thank you to Fortinet for providing our licenses for our students. So thank you very much. Give a hand for both of them. And has already been so rightfully acknowledged by Richard and Nisreen, Stratagem donated $500,000 last year to Sheridan College. It's been a generous gift. It has enabled us to solidify plans to improve both physical and virtual infrastructure to support the development of our cyber ecosystem. But recently, it's also allowed us to sponsor a student. So a graduate of our computer programming diploma recently went through some significant personal struggles that also led to financial instability. While they were still eager to learn and very intrigued by our newest micro-credential, he connected with us to inquire if there were any opportunities for support. So because of Stratagem's financial support, Sheridan was able to provide a bursary for this student to further advance his skill set and enroll in the Cyber Intelligence Analyst course that we started last month. I'm happy to say he's doing very well in his recovery and academically, and I think this is a shining example of what can be accomplished when industry and education work together to create a better future. And I'd also like to introduce my colleague here. This is Ali Hassan with me today. He is the coordinator of our Honors Bachelor of Information Sciences in Cybersecurity. He's been a faculty member with the Applied Computing team since September of 2018 and became the coordinator of the Cybersecurity degree in July of 2022. Ali's going to speak on how the faculty team has embedded AI and machine learning into our cyber programming at Sheridan. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Hello, everyone. I'm Ali Hassan, and I'm happy to be here as the program coordinator for the cybersecurity program at Sheridan College. So today I will briefly explain how we are incorporating AI and machine learning into our program, into our curriculum. So the history of AI and machine learning spans a couple of decades. It's not new. What is new comes from a subset of machine learning. And as we know, we call it generative AI. And generative AI gives the ability to machines to generate content. It could be text, it could be images, it could be video, it could be code. So this means anyone without any prior experience of coding can generate sophisticated, malicious code to come up with a malware. So I'm happy to share with you that we have incorporated both AI and machine learning into our curriculum, into our program map. So what we are doing, we are teaching our students not just to be an expert in cybersecurity. We are teaching our learners how to work with these machine learning and generative AI, and how to work with these transformative technologies to defend organizations. And most importantly, apart from the ability to use machine learning, another important aspect is being able to clearly understand the limitations and the vulnerabilities that are associated with AI and generative AI. For example, prompt injection. So I'm very happy, I'm confident that with this initiative, our learners, our students, our graduates, they will be able to meet the challenges of not just today, but tomorrow as well. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you, Chris and Ali, for that update. Our next speaker represents one of the largest players in cybersecurity technology, Fortinet, a company that empowers cyber defenders with great tech like FortiSIM and FortiSOAR to help facilitate large-scale integrations and automations. Our next speaker is Rafi Wanunu, Systems Engineer Vice President at Fortinet Canada. Rafi leads an elite team of system engineers that work to build and secure the largest and most ambitious digital transformation projects in the enterprise. He is a driven leader, passionate about helping companies secure the journey through the digital economy. Rafi's 25-year career in technology spans the globe, leading teams and projects for major financial, insurance, and tech firms. Everyone, please help me welcome to the stage Rafi Wanunu.
We'll just get sorted out here. Okay, so I don't need an SE. I'm good. Okay, I think I am the SE, but that's okay. Perfect. Okay. No? Doesn't want to come on. We tested this, didn't we, before? No? Yeah? Hold on. It's coming, it's coming. All right, let's try that. There we go. Okay, thanks everyone. Appreciate you guys having us here today. As a proud Canadian company, the largest cybersecurity employer in Canada, we're humbled to be a part of this with John. John, thank you for your investment in Sheridan, your investment in Canada. Thank you for being a visionary in cybersecurity. We appreciate your partnership, John. Nasreen talked a little bit about the asymmetric advantage that attackers have. What is that asymmetric advantage? Why do we call what we're doing accelerating incident handling and response? The reason is that the attackers, we have a pacing challenge. We understand very clearly what the threats are. We understand very clearly what the adversary is trying to do. It is merely a pacing challenge. Enterprises need to invest in platforms. Enterprises need to invest in stratagem to maintain the tempo, to minimize the threats that the attackers are leveraging, and to maintain some sort of remediation capability. Okay? When we talk about AI-driven security operations, we understand some very basic facts. The individual tools need to speak to each other. When Gartner and everybody else says you must have a platform, the reason is that the volume of threats, the tempo of threats, has overwhelmed the ability of human beings to respond. So if we understand that human beings can no longer respond to threats, how do we address them? We use AI, we use automation, and we bridge the tools together in combination with human beings to maintain a viable security posture, okay? So what is security operations? We understand what a SOC is. Everyone in this room has been to many SOCs. You know what a SOC looks like. But really, in most organizations, SOCs are somewhat ad hoc. The people might be junior, okay? And they're really investigating and detecting events and threats at their pace, at their tempo. And this is where the failing happens in most cases. So the AI, the integration that's not happening today, is really causing the challenges of reaction time, inability to detect long-term persistent adversaries that are pivoting inside the network, that are exfiltrating data, right? And also contributing, making the skills gap worse. So if we take all of these pieces in connection, digital transformation, the pace of the adversary, the inability to find skills, we all find ourselves in this room today. Okay, talking about a viable security platform and talking about a partner in cybercrime, a partner in cybersecurity stratagem that can automate these tools and make them work together to meet the pacing challenge. If you talk about the need for faster detection and response, we understand the threats. Okay, nobody doesn't understand the threats, but if you look at the dwell time, over 100 days, look at the remediation time, dozens of days, look at the impacts. Okay, this is what the combination of Stratagem and Fortinet does for you. Takes this graph, shrinks it down, okay, brings it down to a manageable threshold for the enterprise, okay? Everyone understands what the attackers are doing. There's never been an attack where there wasn't a viable post-mortem done by human beings. The key there is a post-mortem, okay? So how do you do that? You do a couple ways. But this isn't the best part of it, right? This is where the value of the tools, the value of Stratagem really comes into play. The longer it takes, the more it costs. So as we're dealing with tight timelines, less skills, complex adversaries, high-paced adversaries, our costs are going northbound through the roof. The longer they dwell, the more it costs, the more the remediation costs, the more the legal costs, the more the challenges, right? So when we talk about asymmetric threats, when we talk about pacing challenges, really what the platforms do, what the technology does, what the partnership with Stratagem does, is brings down that time to detect. We could talk all day about cool features. We can talk about all day about cool things that the technology does, and it does cool things. But really the value is bringing down this time to detect, lowering our cost, allowing less time for the adversaries to detect and to exfiltrate data, okay? Because realistically, we know that if you look at the 3 biggest hacks in the past 6 months, Microsoft, a lot of very well publicized hacks, the attackers use the same tool set. They have to reuse tool sets. They also have an efficiency and a pacing problem on their end, okay? So the security industry sometimes likes to believe that the attacker is so intricate, the attack is so complex, and the adversary is sitting in front of a computer like the Matrix and making custom code to attack you. Absolutely not. That's not accurate. We know from forensics that they are reusing the same attack modules, the same tool set, and the same techniques to breach organizations. So we find ourselves in this, how do we shift left? How do we get to a point where we use AI, machine learning, automation, partnerships to drive that down? And the platform does that, right? So no matter what you believe today, when you are buying a service or you're buying a technology, you're buying data. We are data brokers, right? Anything you buy today without the data feed is a paperweight. That includes our technology. So you're buying data and you're using AI and ML, leveraging that data to actually respond, all right? So we're trying to get to a point, and that's where I think we are pretty close today, John, no? About 95% of the threats are automated, the other 5%, 24/7, 365 knock SOC, and we knock down that last 5%. And that is where we're trying to get, okay? The AI and the ML and the automation are great, but they're nothing without the data feed to the device. So as you're investing in a tool set, as you're investing in technology, you are buying data. We are in the data business. Fortinet is in the data business. Yeah, we make cool firewalls with lots of flashing lights, but we are in the data business. The surge in platforms is because of this. Because automation, APIs, they're great. But that pre-built automation is next level. If you think about it in 2024, and this is, I think, one of the problems that really Strategym's been at the forefront of solving in Canada, it's absurd that the access point and the switch and the firewall and everything else in the network are not completely 100% in sync. It's absurd in 2024. So nothing wrong with best of breed if you've got thousands of people to make all the combinations work. But for the rest of the normal people, if you think about it, it's ridiculous. Your home probably has more automation than your average enterprise network. And that is what is being solved here. Something happens on a desktop in Vancouver, it tells the switch in Toronto, that tells the server in Fredericton. That is modern AI, ML-enabled security in 2024. So, take the AI, take the ML, take the advanced partnership with Strategym, and we boost the productivity. We close that skills gap, and we reduce the time to detect that threat, which is absolutely the goal. There's a lot of cool marketing terms, a lot of cool monikers, but the absolute gold standard is driving down the time to detect. I don't want to steal everyone's thunder, but that's it. Address the skills gap, evaluate what we're trying to do, improve best practices, and drive the time to detect down with AI and ML. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rafi. And now it's time for our live demo with Recorded Future. Topic of the demo today is the use of AI in threat intelligence. Flying in from New Brunswick to be with us today, our guest speaker is Chris Coburn, Principal Technology Alliances Architect at Recorded Future. Leveraging his extensive technical knowledge and strategic partnership experience, Chris plays a crucial role in driving the company's technological integrations and partnerships forward. Having started his career in software engineering, Chris has a deep understanding of technology platforms and their interdependencies. This foundational knowledge has been instrumental in his successful transition into the world of strategic alliances, enabling him to identify and cultivate fruitful partnerships that strengthen Recorded Future's offerings and competitive position. Everyone, please help me welcome to the stage Chris Coburn.
Thank you. Okay. I promise I did not use ChatGPT to write that bio. Totally wrote that myself. Okay, as we get up here. We're on, there we go. All right. So thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you to Strategym for inviting us to this forum. This is awesome. I'm going to talk to you about Recorded Future today. And to be honest, unlike our friends from Fortinet, we need probably a little bit of an introduction of what Recorded Future is and what cyber threat intelligence is. So Recorded Future is the world's largest commercially available source of cyber threat intelligence in the world. The only larger source of cyber threat intelligence in the world is owned by the NSA, and they're a customer of ours too. So you can imagine, it's all about data, and it's all about having the right intelligence in the right place. And the key difference with Recorded Future compared to some other intelligence sources is the way we gather data. So rather than having human analysts creating human research for other human analysts, we try to do this on a big data scale. So we collect data from 1.1 something million sources across many different types of things. Things like technical sources like network traffic analysis and sandbox detections. We have open web sources, so things like vulnerability disclosures and security blogs, all kinds of things like that. Closed web sources like password-restricted subforums, 4chan, 8chan, Telegram channels, Chinese social media. And then the dark web. Okay, we've all heard dark web, right? Things that you need to access on the Tor network with an Onion browser. Well, unsurprisingly, that's where most of the malicious actors in the world are spending their days talking to each other, learning from each other, and we have done a lot of work at building personas within the dark web so that we can see their communication, collect that data, apply natural language processing, ontology analysis, and entity relationship mapping to generate our intelligence graph. And for the data nerds in the room, I'm a big data nerd, it is a massive corpus of data. We have search indexes in the order of magnitude of 600 to 700 terabytes, just the index. So you can imagine our infrastructure provider very much appreciates us as a customer. Okay? What does this corpus look like? Well, as you can see here, there's some really big numbers, right? We have thousands of threat actors and millions of IP addresses and domains and hashes and vulnerabilities. To be honest, that in and of itself isn't all that impressive. Lots of people have lots of bad IPs and lots of bad hashes. The important value that Recorded Future provides is we'll tell you that this threat actor uses these techniques and procedures, deploys this malware, which exploits this vulnerability, which uses this IP address as part of its C2 infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's all about context, right? Just saying that an indicator is bad is meaningless without context, right? So what Recorded Future tries to do is take this corpus of data and provide as much intelligence to the analyst and the tools as possible so that you can make the best decision as fast as possible. Like it was described, the tempo challenge, try to get ahead of that tempo, okay? So with that somewhat shallow understanding of what Recorded Future is all about, let's go through a bit of a scenario. So imagine I'm a cyber threat intelligence analyst at a big Canadian bank, okay? It's Monday morning, I'm having my first sips of my first energy drink of the day, and my CISO comes up to me. Hey, by the end of the day, I need a report about what pieces of malware or what threat actors are attacking the banking industry and whether we're protected or not. What does that cyber threat intelligence analyst do? Does he open Google, right? Google.ca, because he's Canadian, so we're going to use the proper Google. How do I find a new job? No? All right, so we're not doing that. Luckily, that big bank was smart enough to buy Recorded Future. Now, for my demo purpose, let's forget that you see that we actually already solved this problem as part of our threat intelligence module, where we analyze you as a company and you as an organization and give you that information of, hey, these are the pieces of malware, these are the threat actors you should be concerned about. Let's assume he didn't know that that existed, so we're just going to go. So what I could do is start to look into Recorded Future's corpus of data. Okay, this is very small. Let me make that bigger. Okay, and so what I'm going to start to do is say, okay, well, I'm sorry, this is a little off with, there we go. I'm part of the banking sector. So Recorded Future is going to say, oh, okay, I understand banking. What do you mean by banking? Of course, live demo on my phone's hotspot is a little slow today. There we go. So, okay, I'm part of the banking industry. Perfect. As you can see, we have lots of understanding of what banking is, right? I'm also in Canada, et cetera, et cetera. Sure, I could do this, right? And this is what Recorded Future is built for, and a threat intelligence analyst who's very good with Recorded Future can use this advanced query engine to look at everything from dark web posts to Russian Telegram channels to Chinese social media sites, you name it, they can find it. But I'll be perfectly honest, I'm no tech whiz, I'm a CTI guy, I just want to ask questions. Well, luckily, Recorded Future, using this beautiful thing called generative AI, has made that available to you. So now, rather than having to build this advanced query and pivot and do all of these things, I can just ask it a question. What malware variants, and again, maybe I should have Googled how to type, have been targeting the Canadian banking sector over the last year? What this is doing is taking my question, understanding what that question's idea and concepts are, what the entities that are important, converting that into that advanced query that I just showed you, collecting the information. Now, what that advanced query does is actually gives you the underlying blog posts and network traffic analysis and all of that data. It's collecting all of that and then giving me a summary. Hey, The Lockbit ransomware, Black Cat ALV ransomware, also known as the AFV ransomware, are the pieces of malware you need to be concerned about. Now think, you didn't have recorded future. How long did it take that analyst to figure this out? Again, they could have got lucky with a Google search. I'm not saying there's not other threat intelligence sources in the world, okay? But in 10 seconds, I can, oh, okay, now I know, at least know where I'm starting to look. But I'll be honest, I kind of lied on my resume, and I have no idea what Lockbit is. Okay, recorded future is here to save the day. Now again, before we see this AI insight get generated, what does recorded future say about Lockbit? Well, first off, we're going to say, hey, we got lots of information about Lockbit. We've got domains, we've got hashes, we've got URLs, we've got MITRE attack techniques, we've got organizations, victims, vulnerabilities, other threat actors that use that. We've got 628 pieces of research you could read, right? I don't have time to read all that. Like, I get this done by the end of the day, and I'd rather play some video games in the afternoon than actually do work. So luckily, Recorded Future says, don't worry, buddy, you don't need to read. Here we go. We've taken all of the data that I'm showing on that page and making it a consumable, easy to understand bit of text that I don't even need to read myself. I'm just going to copy paste this in a Slack message to my CISO and say, this is why you pay me the big bucks. Okay? Agreed. AI, we need to consider the ethics of AI, but we need to use AI to get in front of the threat actors and get, we have a major, major talent gap in cybersecurity. And if we're having our SOC analysts and our CTI guys and our incident responders and our penetration testers wasting time trying to Google something, trying to do this research themselves, we're wasting their time. They need to be doing the important things. And this is what Recorded Future is trying to use AI to do. Thank you.
Very impressive stuff. Thank you, Chris. All right, now it's time for our panel. My favorite part about panels is that you get some very heavy hitters that can compress 10,000 hours of experience generally into 60 minutes. So we have many insights today, very excited. So I want to start off by making an introduction. So I'm going to, if everyone could come up to the panel in your respective seats, and then I'll launch with an intro. So go ahead. All right, so I'll start off with some introductions, and please hold your applause until the very end, just to save some time. So, starting from your left, Bobby Singh, CISO and CTO for Toronto Stock Exchange. With over 25 years of experience in information security and risk management, Bobby leads his team to deliver secure and highly available technology services across TMX. As a member of the company's executive leadership team, Bobby is dedicated to defining TMX's cybersecurity and technology strategy to advance the organizational agenda. Next, we have Namira Dalwani, CTO of the Sick Kids Hospital. Namira is a health system leader focused on delivering technical and digital solutions that provide a connected care experience for clinicians and patients. Namira has held progressive IT leadership roles in several healthcare organizations over the past 20 years and brings expertise in IT strategy and delivery, clinical and patient user experience, and also privacy and cybersecurity best practices, as well as IT incident management. Next, we have John Menezes, President and CEO of Stratagem. A cybersecurity veteran for over 20 years, John is a true pioneer in the realm of cybersecurity. Dedicated to creating innovative cybersecurity solutions, John has been a driving force in the evolution of the managed security services sector. He has made his mark by challenging the status quo and by spearheading advancements that continue to shape the industry. Next, we have Mohammed Omar, CTO and CISO at CAMH. Mohammed has been instrumental in CAMH's infrastructural redesign, emphasizing cybersecurity and providing leadership in CAMH redevelopment projects, including the implementation of ICT for 9 new buildings. Recently appointed as CAMH's CTO/CISO, he is elevating cybersecurity in a rapidly evolving digital landscape. Mohammed is recognized for achievements in CAMH's cloud migration, the establishment of a cybersecurity program, and technology leadership in the implementation of the National 988 Crisis Suicide Hotline. Next, we have Vivek Kendria, SVP of Cybersecurity at Loblaw. With vast experience across several sectors, Vivek is a cybersecurity powerhouse that takes a hands-on technical approach to cybersecurity. He has made his mission to translate the complex concepts of cyber risk to those he is speaking to, and has thus become a prominent strategic thought leader in the field. A founding contributor for the non-for-profit Canadian Cyber Threat Exchange, Vivek is also the elected representative for Canada on the Information Security Forum Executive Council. And last but not least, our moderator for this evening, Talha Iqbal, the Director of Cyber Intelligence at Stratagem. With an impressive 12-year tenure in cybersecurity, primarily focusing on SOC operations, as a seasoned leader, Talha plays a pivotal role in shaping and redefining strategies for effective incident response and day-to-day security operations. In addition to his distinguished career in cybersecurity operations, Talha brings a wealth of knowledge with 7 years dedicated to teaching cybersecurity at post-secondary institutions across Ontario. This dual role as a practitioner and educator, showcases his commitment to staying at the forefront of industry advancements and sharing his expertise with the next generation of cyber professionals. Can we have a big round of applause for this heavy-hitting panel today, please? Now, before I hand it over to Talha, we will be taking Q&A right after the panel, so please prepare your questions. We will have Eugene and Dharma walk around with some microphones. With that being said, Talha, the floor is yours.
All right, perfect. Well, we do have some heavy hitters here on the stage tonight, and I'm very excited to share the stage with these dynamic people. Our topic for today is understanding the impact of artificial intelligence, AI, as we incorporate that into business operations, especially in the realm of cybersecurity. So with that said, Vivek, I'll start with you. As SVP at Loblaw, how do you see AI impacting the business, especially in the world of InfoSec?
Massive. Happy to be here. And I think one thing I just wanted to do before I jump into that answer is just level set the audience. So how many folks here have used ChatGPT? Quick show of hands. Okay. How many people think there's a difference between ML and LLM? Okay, that's pretty good. How many have used ChatGPT or something to generate code? Okay, we got a good crowd. Okay, it's good to know. Well, impact on business is massive. We are facing all kinds of challenges. It basically comes down to moving faster. So analysis is going to happen faster, Gen AI. Text is being generated faster. Everything from performance reviews to looking at complex data sets to generating code. There's a great study out of Waterloo University. They're finding code generated by LLMs has 40% less vulnerabilities right out of the gate. Now, the code is not beating the top programmers, but it's still a good start. Second is automation. So, being able to take complex tasks that we thought would never be able to codify and automating those processes, even automating the reading of emails, plucking out sentiment, plucking out words to populate a form and complete an order. These are all happening as we speak. In fact, one of my favorite cartoons is there's a picture of, in one slide, person has said, hey, I took one bullet and made a beautiful 9-page PowerPoint. The next slide is, hey, I received this 9-page PowerPoint and I was able to summarize it into one bullet. So we got to be careful that we're not just using AI to spin in and out of made up stuff. I think also, Loblaws operates across many verticals. This is an opportunity for also personalization and being able to understand what a customer wants in much more subtle ways. And so that, an example is, if you're a vegetarian, you probably shouldn't be getting offers for, a turkey. And I think the last piece is just accelerating skills. None of this to date has been seen to replace experts. Quality control is still important, but it's really accelerating learning. It's accelerating the activities and allowing people to kind of think big picture. But there's a negative side now. So all those things I just said are used by the bad guys. And I think you heard from all the speakers here, faster for the bad guys means attack frequency goes up. We see that with ransomware. Automation for the bad guys, we got more sophistication, right, going up. Personalization, that means more targeted phishing, more targeted attacks. Japan's getting killed now because nobody could write good fishes in Japanese before, and guess what? Now they're doing it. So, there's two sides of this world, and everyone's got to step up and understand it.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you for that. Nimira, over to you. As CTO at SickKids, what's your take on how AI is impacting the operations at the hospital as it integrates into different and various tech stack?
It's an interesting concept at this point in time. If you think about the hospital operations on a day-to-day basis, at the very core, we've just got patients coming in, and we need to provide them with care. Now, how do we do that efficiently? How do we make sure that the little resources we get are optimized? And on a daily basis, we look at our IT systems. So we look at our network operations, we look at our clinical systems, and we look at all of the services that we are trying to provide. And where we want to try and think about automating to bring efficiencies, that is our focus. So you want to start from the very basics to say, where can we automate so that we can spend time in the right places? But AI is shifting that thought for us. It's asking us to say, you can automate it, you can make it faster. In fact, don't worry about it, we'll even make the decision for you. And that's when we need to step back. And so we are thinking about it from a research perspective, we're looking at it from a clinical perspective, and saying, how much can we embed AI, to what extent, and then at what point does the human interaction come in to be able to drive some of the decision making? And that is one of the biggest challenges we have that we're trying to work with. I'll give you an example of the use of AI that we have in our department today, which is predicting how many patients are going to be coming into our environment. We know our emergency departments are loaded, and we always have a lot of patients coming in. And we don't know that until the hour's approaching, and we think, oh my gosh, we need to get more nurses and more physicians on the call. We need to be able to predict that. So we've put in some AI and machine learning models that's to help us predict, depending on what the weather is like, how many patients are coming in, what is the season at this point in time, is it RSV season? And so what historically has been done, and where are we moving that forward? So we are trying to build it in, but there's a lot of caution that we need to try and think about. The challenge we have is everybody thinks they're an expert in AI. Because you can use ChatGPT, you're an AI expert. And I think that's something we need to start thinking about, to say, how do we corral the teams together and really think deep about what the impact is of AI?
Absolutely. Thank you for that wonderful insight. Bobby, from a financial service perspective, and I'm really interested to hear from you, as CTO and CISO at Toronto Stock Exchange, or TMX, how do you see AI impacting the business, especially when it integrates into cybersecurity?
Well, I think I'll go back to just what we just mentioned recently before I answer your question for a second. So I'm only a ChatGPT user, so I don't consider myself an expert. But having said that, I think the example you gave on the predictability is absolutely critical. I think when I look at AI, I'm looking at how the success rate has been. right? How accurate the AI has been in predictability. So for example, if you need 10 nurses, but you end up only using 2 and so forth, or vice versa. So I'm a bit of a pessimistic when it comes to AI. So if you ever want to have a beer discussion, happy to do it. I'm not sold on AI yet. That could be my age or the fact that I have too many scars. But going back to the question at hand, so let me address that first. So we have embraced AI for the last 10 months at the Toronto Stock Exchange. We kind of compartmentalize into 3 different sections. So we have what we call individual productivity goals. If we're using copilots, for example, is that helping with AI or not? I think Vivek briefly mentioned about coding as well. Then we have what we call operational efficiencies. So how we're using AI today within the organization to create operational efficiency. So looking at our processes, but case in point, a good example is we produce or look at a lot of financial reports, proxy statements. They could be in hundreds of pages, 500, 600 pages at times. So we're just using AI now. And we've gone through a bunch of vendors as well to summarize the key salient points from those long documents. Again, accuracy is still a bit of a question mark, but if it's not critical, I certainly wouldn't want AI operating on me or deciding on making a decision. But if it's just a data that you want to summarize, if the accuracy is not that critical for say, then of course AI can play a pretty big role. And the third category I think we have is what we call monetization of our data and services. So we produce a lot of data on a daily basis. As you know, it's an exchange. It has a lot of data. The ticker symbol that you see on Bloomberg or BNN is all for the Canadian stock is all supplied by us. So having said that, we're looking at how do we monetize it, how we bring in data from different sources. Could be climate data, could be whatever else, and monetize that for a reason by using AI, by making it natural language processing for our brokers and traders. So that's probably the biggest thing we're actually looking at. Now, only thing I will caution right now is that all the stuff I just mentioned, it still has human in the loop and everything. I am not confident that I can allow AI to make a decision for us today. So everything is kind of verified with the human in the loop. But once the comfort level and the accuracy goes up, then the idea is that, of course, as we've been discussing, we'll let AI make some decisions as well.
And that seems to be the common theme. Leveraging AI for decision making is still a big question mark.
Right.
However, it's being utilized to increase the efficiency and optimize existing processes. Thank you for that, Bobby. Mohammed, over to you. CAMH is known as the largest research facility in Canada for mental health and addiction. As CTO and CISO at CAMH, how do you see AI impacting the operations and supplementing cybersecurity?
Okay, so actually, it is coincident that today CAMH launched its strategic plan for 2024 to 2030. And one of the driving strategic driver is advanced care. So, and within that advanced care is that one of the item is supposed to be to use analytics, advanced analytics, to provide precision care. And to do that, we feel that we have to embrace AI. So, and that is what what CAMH is trying to do. We feel we are behind, although we have been using AI for some time, you know, whether it's in the cybersecurity tools we use or even in research or what's on and research data. But it's normally at the back end, you know, it's at the back end, and users are not interacting with it. It's more about data being computed and providing predictive stuff, like maybe somebody having a relapse of, you know, things like those. But now it's like we are bringing it to the forefront, and our strategic plan is actually calling for it. So we are hoping that in the next 6 years, we'll be investing so much into that. We do understand that there is, apart from this is being an opportunity, a really opportunity to use the technology, but also there is pitfalls that we have to be careful of. And so the goal is to come up with a framework that will be able to engage and really utilize AI.
Absolutely, and it's wonderful to see that we're adopting AI instead of playing catch up. Now over to you, John. I'm going to throw a different question at you. As president and CEO at Stratagem, with all the enterprises looking to do more with AI, what is Stratagem doing to ensure secure use of AI?
Why does John get the easiest question? Yeah,
hey, you think that's an easy question? So you see with bright minds like this on the stage, our job is very difficult. Okay, so our job is very difficult. But what we're trying to do is, because everybody's playing catch up. So all of a sudden, ChatGPT came out about a year ago, and everybody's playing catch up, and AI is now this big thing. And so what we've been doing at Stratagem is first of all, we can't help our customers if we're not knowledgeable about the field itself and the challenges that AI has. So we spent a lot of time and energy over the last 12 months to train the team, get them understanding with AI, figuring out what they need to do, and then helping our customers. So helping our customers understand AI, simple things. What data can I upload to ChatGPT? Should I upload this data? Is a customer IP address good, bad? And we've done that internally in our own SOC, because we've implemented ChatGPT in our ServiceNow platform. And so we have to train our analysts that you can't put a customer's IP into ChatGPT. So just our own knowledge and expertise. What challenges have we had educating our people, and making sure that they are. So when we go to a customer, we can say, this is what we've learned, or this is the experience we've had. So it makes it really live. The other thing we're doing is conducting assessments for our clients. You're going to launch a new application. It has AI. What exactly does that mean that you have AI? Like, what is AI doing? What kind of data is it? So how do you do a security and privacy assessment for this application that you're going to be launching? The other piece is my favorite topic is data classification. As Bobby and Vivek will know, we've been talking about data classification for the last 30 years. Okay, it's a worst piece of information to talk about. But now when you talk about AI, it's all about data. So if you don't have data classification, you need to have a data governance structure. So so again, we're talking about data governance. We're talking about okay, what data, how can we use it? How is AI going to use it? Where is it taking? So there's so many things that we're doing, but I think we're just starting. We're just starting, and so at Stratagem, we're busy learning. We're in a fast pace to learn, so that as we work with our customers, and we have a large customer base all over North America, so we're seeing different things happening in different environments, and I think that's preparing us to deliver even better service for our customers.
But if I may just go back to your point, though, I think you hit it right on the head. We are learning. So I think and I deal with vendors a lot, and love Fortinet, we use Fortinet, but again, I'm skeptical on AI piece. A lot of marketing being thrown out on AI, which gets me going on the fact that I really want to look under the covers how AI is being used. But I think the reason I think I mentioned that is, I think technology is a bit ahead of the curve. If I look at the White House regulation that just came out in November 2023, is talking about creating the fact that we should come up with some new regs. I think we already talked about ethics, which is absolutely important. New York Times just sued ChatGPT and Microsoft, I think in December last year as well, because of the fact that the articles were being used without New York Times getting any royalty fees. I think we're ahead of it. Sorry, the technology is ahead of it. I think to your point, I'm still trying to find the use cases in cyber on Gen AI. I have some cases on AI, but not on Gen AI. So there's a bit of a difference there, right? So I totally with you. I think let's learn first before we start using it. So if anybody gives you a talk about they got good AI, or Gen AI, just look under the covers. I think it's a lot of it probably is a BS, but anyway, that's just my take.
You're such a party pooper. Bobby and I are usually on opposite sides of any debate.
Even today.
Even today.
Oh, jeez.
And even when it's not work related. But like we're 10 years in, and I've been in organizations going back maybe 20 years. This is not new stuff. And I think it's important to understand, I think some of the points that are coming up is certain problems, you got to put it in the right bucket. Some problems are a Gen AI problem, some problems are an ML problem. AGI is still under development. But if you have the right problem in the right space, and you have the right checks and balances, code going through a CI/CD pipeline, text going through the right QA, man, this is already 10 years in. And you don't want to ask Gen AI, what price to sell a stock at, for example. Maybe that's a good one, because that's not the problem to give Gen AI, right? But I just want to make sure we don't lose all the momentum there. Like I think the most important thing, when you look at ethics and you look at risk, is know what you shouldn't do with AI first, We're all racing to find the cases, and there's tons of them. And I have tons of it in production, and a lot of technology we're using has it embedded for years. But know what you shouldn't do with it first. And I think that's something, Bobby's echoing is there's probably like a line we should all draw and say, hey, let's not go there today, but we got tons of stuff we can do, And I just want to make sure, I'll share more of it later, but I think there are lots of cyber Gen AI use cases. Recently the Change Healthcare got breached in the US. The threat intel, we're a recorded future customer, all of that was flying all over the place. And I could send it to the boys and say, hey, could you guys write this up for a business executive? Well, now I can say, hey, take this incident report, write it up for a business executive at grade 9 level, use the voice of Obama, less than 100 words, blah, 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 blah. And it may not be right. I could even say, and give it to me in French. And I give it to me in Italian, and and I could keep playing with it, or give it to me in the voice of Snoop Dogg, whatever I want to do, and it just gives you a starting point that's faster. So there's lots of I think exciting things that are in production today.
I we'll continue to agree to disagree.
Okay.
All right.
Now, there's definitely an ethical and privacy concern with the use of Gen AI as it gains popularity. We're opening to risks such as misinformation, plagiarism, copyright infringement, and in some cases, major concern is protecting the data privacy and preventing ourselves from exposing sensitive information. We're already seeing AI frameworks and policies being drafted to guide organizations on ethical, responsible, and effective use of AI. So my next question is to Mohammed. With the rapid acceleration of AI with the user base, where your users are using Gen AI in their day-to-day lives, how do we balance the aggressive capabilities of AI in cybersecurity with privacy and ethical concerns?
Okay, so you're giving us the tough questions. So first, I'd like to admit that we are catching up. We are behind in this, but to address the ethical issues, we feel that at least at CAMH we have to come up with a framework. Have people from representation from different groups. Majority, especially with the research, they tend to use a lot of AI, and that's what they're looking forward to it. So engage different groups, clinical research, corporate, because we still are going to use things like Copilot and even ChatGPT. People are using it. We know they are using it. So it's to come with that framework to address those ethical issues, and also. We have concerns that we have PHI and PII, and it's so important that we need to be able to inform our users that what they can do, like what John was saying about IP. Maybe for me, if it's a private IP, I don't care much, but I really do care about personal health information. And people might be doing this without realizing that they thought, oh, you know what, I'm just going to paste it there and then delete it. And feel that, hey, that they've done their portion, not knowing they're disclosing this information. So I think those are the challenges, but we're hoping to address them. And in terms of cybersecurity, I think it's still, whether we embrace AI or not, the challenges will still be the same, because somebody else is, the threat actors are going to use it. So we have no choice but to also do the same, So I'm not sure if I did answer the question.
No, absolutely. And Nimira, I want you to piggyback off that one. From a healthcare perspective, again, securing patient data and sensitive information in accordance with data privacy laws such as PIPEDA. What's your take on that?
Well, we do that every day today, right? I don't think the story changes. Yes. We are very, very tight in terms of how we think about patient data today. We have privacy by design, we have security by design. In fact, sometimes it's very, very tight. And so we have a lot of researchers coming in and saying, I want access to that data. What's the purpose of that data? How are you going to be using it? Is that consented data? Is it not consented? Is it being used by a clinician for a purpose of care or not? All these questions still stand. So our governance structure generally stay the same in terms of how we come together and how we talk about data. So when Gen AI comes in, or we have ML coming in, we really try and think about using the established frameworks, but now start asking different types of questions, augmenting who sits around the table. The biggest question we have is, who leads AI in the organization? Is it technology or is it business? And how do we drive that forward? At Sick Kids, our vision is precision child health. And we really want to think about a very targeted approach to treating patients. And our CEO has coined a really cool term. It's taking data from your genetic code to your postal code. It just gives you a visual as how much data you need to be able to then provide targeted care. But if that's the care that you're thinking about, you need to be able to predict what the outcomes are for that particular patient. So we have all of our clinical teams around the table. We have researchers around the table. We also have risk around the table. I think they're the ones that really come forward and help us drive some of the, what should you not do to begin with, and what can you do with what we have available. And then we've certainly got IT at the table to be able to discuss what is the infrastructure that's required, what are the applications, and how do we drive that forward, and then what is the roadmap as we continue to expand and open up the data within the parameters that we do have in place. So it's very complex, but we really are to say we need to have a coherent governance structure for decision making. And if you don't have concrete policies, we risk people misusing AI.
Absolutely. Now, Bobby, we all know about the strict regulatory obligations in the financial services sector. What insights can you share with respect to measures being taken to ensure AI tools comply with data protection laws?
Well, look, I think, as I mentioned earlier, we're still trying to figure out what that even looks like for us. So we have a couple of jurisdictions that we actually operate in. So we have London, UK as well, which has a pretty significant GDPR act. Have to comply with. So approach we've taken is demarcation at this point. So at this, I don't really have a good answer on what sort of things the tools AI is coming with to help us. As I said earlier, I think technology is a bit ahead except at Loblaws. But having said that, look, the approach now is what Nirmala just said. It's very much a governance approach. So we do have a committee that looks at all the AI-related projects. We are demarcated to say in this geography, the data will stay there, and the AI usage will stay on that part of the geography versus in the North America, for example. Just because we haven't figured out how the commingling of data can cause a GDPR issue and any regulatory issues as well. The other thing we're looking at, just to piggyback on that, is RegTech. We're actually looking at a lot of the regulatory technologies that can actually use AI because we are highly regulated in the US, UK, of course, and Canada. So we're looking to see if there's a way for us to use the technology from an AI perspective and comply with various regulations with some certain framework that we can actually develop. So still in the early stages of that, but that's where I think you can use the value of the AI helping us comply with a bunch of regulations using RegTech.
Interesting. Now, Vivek, I know you're on the opposite end of that, and you're in a unique space, focusing both on retail and pharmacy. So how do you ensure that AI improves customer service and efficiency without compromising on privacy and ethical concerns?
Yeah, no, I'll answer your question. I'll just finish up on the FI because PC Financial is doing a lot of cool things as well. But, OSFI, the regulator for banks in Canada, released a questionnaire to all the FIs about 2 months ago and asked a bunch of questions about use of AI. And it was very, novice questions, but very blunt questions. There were 3 things that were interesting about this exercise. One is, I think they moved the deadline twice. So there were a lot of, FIs that were cautious and maybe not answering, maybe not even ready to take a position on it. So that was interesting. And then just talking to a few of my peers, they want to proceed slowly. And so my conversations in, both with the banking regulators and the health regulators has been, there are some good frameworks emerging, like Google has one called SAFE, S-A-I-F. And if you are involved in securing AI data, AI systems, it's a really good one to look at because for the most part, all the normal things apply when you talk about AI. You need to assess your vendors. You need to ensure you have your right data. You need to make sure you have consent to use the data that you want to use. You need to make sure that data is protected. Case in point, Stanford researchers show they could poison training data with just one record, right? So nobody ever cared about training data before. It was like the data lake that everyone had access to. Now it really matters. So protecting that data is important. And to improve our customer service and make sure we're delivering medicine and food and critical health care to all of our customers means that, first of all, where are we not going to go first? Okay, probably not going to diagnose yet on that, right? But we think about, hey, what route should we send the truck? Hey, what should we ship to this location? How should we optimize our training? How should we improve our communications? How do we offer our communications at different levels in different languages? How do we process mails better? And a great one is, tell me if I'm talking too long. A great one is when customers come in the store. So you guys might remember about 9 years ago, Loblaws bought Shoppers Drug Mart. And the first thing we did is we said, hey, let's put in a self-checkout kiosk. And the business went nuts. And they said, there's no way our customers will hate it. This is a drugstore. It's a really intimate experience. Don't go there. I said, just try it. So we put in a few. Customers loved it. Why did they love it? Because there's a sense of privacy when you're talking to a bot, when you're talking to a self-checkout. Whatever you happen to be buying, you're not being judged. And so in a way, when I talk to people, talk to customers, there's a bit of that when we start to think of call center agent roles moving. Right? So there are many companies offering a call center agent, Gen AI based, learns the processes in 48 hours, it's live, supports 150 languages, and guess what? Now a customer can talk not just in the language they prefer, in the dialect they prefer. And that feeling of anonymity is actually desirable to many customers. Now, not all things can be done. It takes time to train, and maybe there's an escape button to get back to human, but it is something that it's 9 o'clock, the call center's closed. That thing's going to go away. And if you've ever been in a call center, it's actually a horrible job. So we can knock those things out, make better jobs, reduce costs, so we can lower prices, give Canadians better offers. And I think it's just something that it's already rolling. And it's just a question of how you're going to stay competitive if you don't understand it and you don't adopt it.
And a better consumer experience keeps you competitive in the market as well.
Yeah.
Now, John, I can't ask you the easy questions anymore. So we all know that there's rapid changes in the types and methods of cyber attacks. Now, keeping aligned with the ethical and privacy concern, organizations are using AI for defense purposes. They're also looking at cyber threats evolving with the advancement of AI technologies. So how should organizations support themselves or protect themselves against criminal AI?
It's very difficult to talk about protection. It's just about reducing your risk. So the enterprise needs to reduce the risk. So you got to do the basic fundamentals. So whether you're talking about AI or ML, you got to do the basic fundamentals. You got to make sure the access controls are correct. You got to make sure you have data policies are correct. You got to make sure data loss systems are in place. So that the fundamentals are not changing. Okay, so cybersecurity and I think very often when we talk about AI and we think we're doing something brand new. But the fundamentals, and then we sort of move away from the fundamentals, and now in a couple of months, you're going to see a whole bunch of new tools come out that this is how these are the tools you need to secure AI. And you're going to see everybody rush off and to buy the latest gizmo to protect AI without the basic fundamentals. So like I said, data classification, governance policy, privacy regulations, you got to do all these things. And I think you just have to stick to the fundamentals. If you stick to the fundamentals of cybersecurity, you're going to be great. But I think the biggest problem we have in cybersecurity is we don't want to do the fundamentals. We want to chase the best tool, the latest tool. So that is the challenge that we have in cybersecurity, and that's kind of why we're kind of always behind the 8 ball. Okay, and now with Gen AI, it's going to make it even more difficult because the criminals have, the single-minded focus. They're going to come at you fast. And now with Gen AI, the speed of attacks, they can generate these massive attacks very easily, So we as the enterprise, you need to now have Gen AI defending yourself. So I see a future where you're going to have criminal AI versus enterprise AI fighting each other, and the humans are going to be at a place just watching the fun, because there's going to be no choice. The days of manual response are over. Okay, so no matter what anybody says, the days of manual response are over. You have to automate the response, and the only way you're going to be able to automate the response is that you make sure that your AI is better than somebody else's AI. And I think that's how the protection is going to be. I don't know of anything else.
Vivek, with respect to evolution in threat landscape, and we heard that how all the cybersecurity vendors are incorporating AI to some extent into their tools.
Many years.
Are you having conversation with your partners and vendors on secure use of AI as they get integrated into their processes and in their tools?
Absolutely. You know, if you look at any study, supply chain risk is among the top. And, you know, part of the mission at CCTX is really helping our supply chain across Canada, big and small, to get better information to defend themselves. But it's incumbent on each of us to reach out to our suppliers and make sure they do the right things as well. You know, with these kind of technologies embedded, it's all about perspective, you know. So one, do the basic things, you know, making sure the suppliers do the basic things. We have tools for that, long-standing tools, SOC 2 Type 2s, PCI audits, QSA audits, pen testing. But then you got to go to that next level as well. And you need to do some tabletops, you know, with your suppliers that matter, run some scenarios to make sure that, hey, when something comes down, will they react right? Will they know the roles and responsibilities right? Will they contain it right? And I think, you know, organizations also need to have their own playbooks on when a supplier gets hit, because guess what? Your supplier's going to get hit. You're going to get hit. And every month, you know, Loblaws has 70,000 suppliers. There's always a few suppliers hit every month. And so we have playbooks on how do we assess and triage and disconnect from that supplier quickly and reach out and help them as well. So it's, I think we have to work together because, you know, the bad guys are working together. We need to work together and find ways to kind of help each other and cooperate. It's a big challenge and it's a daunting task, and no matter how much you spend, no matter how much you do, they still could get in if they really want to. The measure is not were you hacked. The measure is going to be how fast you detect it. There was a slide earlier on that, and how fast you contain it. That's really going to be when you test your metal. And if you think you can go it alone without your suppliers, you're wrong. Suppliers are part of it, and there's the suppliers you work with, and then there's also your cybersecurity partners. And if those cybersecurity partners aren't fully automated with AI, the right type of AI, for the right problems, you can't expect a person's going to react in time. You can't expect a person's going to even see it in time because things are just happening so fast. You know, if you had an attack and you're a small company and you got 10 gigs of DDoS coming down, you probably think it's an attack. Well, for some companies, 10 gigs could just be a good day, you know, of sales traffic. So having that, you know, ability to detect, is that a robotic mouse moving or is that a human moving? And I have legitimate customers that need service. You know, these are good ML problems that we've tackled for years. So, you know, short answer is lots of it, yes. And I think we're the ones will push our suppliers into that space. Security suppliers are already there. Like I can't name one security supplier that is not embedding it, you know, for many years. It's an absolute must.
I think what I'd add to that is, in addition to detection controls and prevention controls and reducing time to containment, organizations also need to understand their resiliency. How quickly can you recover from an incident? How quickly can you eradicate and bring your systems back to an operation-ready state? Now, Mohammed, I have a question for you with regards to... Sorry, go ahead.
Too. Just how much influence do you have in terms of, from a cybersecurity, influencing which suppliers you have? Let's say you have a supplier that you want, Loblaws need, they have cheap stuff, but their cybersecurity might not be. How much influence do you have in saying, hey, don't go with this guy?
Okay. Yeah, I think, you know, it's a journey every cybersecurity group goes through in a company. And I can say, like 5 years ago, we weren't invited to the party early. Okay. And after a few wins, after a few fires, then the business learns, like, look, you got to get the contracts right, you got to get the requirements right, you got to get the testing right. But that's only going to happen if the office of no becomes the office of go. And it's not about stopping the business, it's about saying, how do you make this work? So we may have a supplier that's inadequate, but one choice is not go with the supplier. Another choice is augment the supplier. Another choice is to mitigate the risk the supplier has, which has a cost. Now you could say, look, we can help you make this happen, but it's going to take an extra month. It's going to cost you $3 million. Or maybe you can look at this supplier and they're more up to snuff. So giving the business choices is really important. But I can say, we do over 400 supplier assessments a year. We have all our suppliers organized in terms of tier 1, tier 2. And, the business takes it really seriously. And I think, it's a business. Cyber is not a tech problem. Cyber is a business problem, and the business has to be held accountable when they take the risk, and we have to give them options to be able to do their business easily and quickly.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Mohammed, from a strategy perspective, is your focus currently on creating policies around effective and responsible use of AI, both generative AI and machine learning AI? And have you considered the risk that it brings to the organization? Is it part of your roadmap?
Yes, so we definitely, because it's way in the early stages, but we definitely believe that we have to involve everyone. We have to involve the research team, the clinical groups. We also have to involve risk, our legal, IT, cybersecurity, and privacy, because everybody has to be involved in it. We have to look at the ethical portion of what do we feed, what data do we feed, what type of data, So, but we are still at a very early stages. But definitely, that's when we are going to build those policies. Those are some of the things we have to look at.
Okay, interesting. Namira, if you can elaborate a little bit more on governance aspect of AI as it integrates into the organization, especially around creating policies, incorporating frameworks, and efficient use of AI, but again, understanding the risk that it brings as well.
I think in the hospital framework, we have a governance structure that allows us to do work both on the research side and the clinical side. So when there's work going on the research side, we have a very strong framework. You go through REB approval, which is Research Ethics Board, and they ask really significant questions. The data scientists sit within that realm, and that's the governance. Then we've got the clinical governance. So we've got all the clinical, whether it's ambulatory, patients come in, patients leave the same day, or you've got inpatients, patients come in and stay, we've got emergency departments. And then we've got clinical workflows that happen on those fronts. And we've got governance that takes us from the clinical applications all the way to the various bodies for approvals, changes, product changes, up to our senior management teams that move things forward. The AI world is pushing those two worlds together. And what we are trying to do, I don't think we're there yet, because it's very difficult to change behavior, is to get the data scientists to understand the clinical work, because they have all the data. We can get structured data, they have access to the data, they can do research, but they don't have the right questions to ask. The clinical teams have the right clinical questions to ask. And that is one of the challenges to find out, to say, all right, from a clinical perspective, what is your challenge? What is your business problem? And then based on that, how do you identify the data that's needed? And that then gets moved forward, comes to a governance structure that combines clinical and research. And that's what we're trying to establish at this point in time, to say, what is that combined governance that looks at it not only from a research perspective, but also the impact to patients. Right now, we're not there yet. There are some algorithms that people have put together, our researchers have put together, but there's a significant amount of human intervention that comes forward, significant amount. But we want to try and see how far can we move that forward. But where is AI? We actually have it prevalent within our systems today. Some of our clinical information systems, they auto-generate the summaries, the patient summaries, because doctors need to write a lot of information. They need to summarize. We try and get as discrete data as possible so that we can make sure. Sorry, I think the microphone's on and off, but if you can hear me, that's fine. I'll speak louder. The doctors do calculate, enter in a lot of information. Where we try and get it to be as discrete as possible, we try and do that. But there's a lot of free text. But our systems actually auto-generate letters based on discrete data that we put in. And we call that the Dear Doctor letter, right? So we say, we put in, this is a patient that has this particular diagnosis, these are the meds upon discharge, et cetera. And there's a Dear Doctor letter that comes in that can then automatically be set up and sent over to the primary care providers. So we do bring some of the efficiencies in place where possible. The physician or the care provider does need to review, they do need to sign off, and then that data is available to both patients and the providers as well. So there are some areas where we look to our vendor partners to be able to bring in efficiencies in our clinical systems, and then we've got some of the clinical teams that provide some of the enhancements that we look at. But everything needs to be vetted through a really good governance structure to say, yes, it's valid, and it's been thought through, and it's safe.
Thank you. Bobby, next question is for you. With AI threats evolving and we see innovative threat actors utilizing AI to target organizations, especially with strict compliance in finance, how do you find the balance between what tools and what processes can be integrated with AI tools or use of AI for defensive purposes?
Yeah, no, that's a fair point, but I think I haven't really found a reason not to use an AI or Gen AI for that matter because of compliancy purposes. I think we've been able to distinguish and keep using the AI as needed. But again, I go back to my comments earlier, it's in a very selective way. So a couple of areas we're using AI today on our SOAR platform as an example. So our SOAR platform today is fairly automated, but on the, as I mentioned earlier, it still has a human in the loop. Some of the tasks that are really mundane, I would say, are done automatically through some use of AI, but most of them, I would say, still have the security analyst to kind of review and check, as you mentioned earlier, that someone has to take a look at it and approve it. And the reason is not because of the fact that I don't trust the AI, which partially is the reason, but the part of the reason also is the impact of an automation is significant. Because we're, 24/7 kind of a shops, certainly because we're global markets, doing the business hours on 5 days a week. It's pretty, even if there's 1 second glitch, makes it to the media, so we have to be very careful of how we do things. So there is a lot of that human in the loop thing. The other areas which I have used AI in the past, not Gen AI, but AI in the past, and I'll try to distinguish that as well, is for the last few years we created a big data mart where we're putting all of our logs in there. So all the security logs, sys logs go into the big data mart. And the reason we will have this data mart is based for security purposes. We're looking for an APT. So just to give you a bit more context about our organization, we're not a bank or PC Financial, as Vivek was mentioning earlier. We have no money. But on the other hand, $500 billion a day trade through the Toronto Stock Exchange and the clearinghouse that we have. And that's a fairly significant amount for Canadian capital markets. So it's a lot of messaging that goes back and forth. So my threat that I'm more concerned about is not some fraudster or gangster trying to look for money or trying to clean somebody's bank account. My concern is state actors. I'm more concerned about the state actors that have unlimited amount of resources, very focused to come after an organization and create a chaos in the capital markets, especially in Canada for that matter. So for us, the detection of APT is pretty important, and for that reason, we have a data mart that currently consists of security logs for the last many years and looking for APTs of that level to look for. But we use a lot of machine learning for that. We're using use cases where we're saying, okay, coming in threat intelligence, tie that with threat intelligence coming from different sources. Can we detect an anomaly in our logs that a typical SIM use case wasn't able to detect? So in those cases, we've been using AI for a long time, or machine learning for that matter.
Absolutely. Mohammed, I know you guys are in your early stages of adopting AI, but where do you see yourself, or in the coming years, how do you envision the integration of AI with your tech stack, with your IT tools and services?
Yes, also I think when we talk about cybersecurity, we know the threat actors are using AI and they're automating their attacks. So it only makes sense that we have defense that is of similar in nature. So that whatever tools that we use are actually based on AI, and they are automated as much as possible. The key here is to make sure that when we automate, that we don't not to be counterproductive by disconnecting ourselves, because threat actors, they want to disrupt services, in some form or the other. So we have to be careful, but definitely we do need to automate majority of the stuff. We know that with humans, no matter how we try, how fast we're gonna be, imagine even if you have a SOC 24/7 fully with full complement, chances by the time you get people, or even if it's the same SOC people are the one who are going to implement to contain the issue, whatever, they'll still be, we're talking hours. If you're really good, maybe an hour, but that might not be quick enough. So definitely full automation is something that we have to strive, although we still need to have that human person. Just like when you have in area, even that human person does nothing but just make sure that things are going, that's so important. Yeah.
Absolutely. And John, I know that's your favorite topic on automation and fully integrating AI into your security controls. What's your take on leveraging security controls and automating them and enhancing them through the use of AI?
Well, I think in security operations, we're having a transformative wave. I think in 2 years from now, security operations will be totally different than what we see today. I see a future where it's all automated. Matter of fact, I was telling my 40 security analysts that I have working in the Cyber Intelligence Center that they're going to become obsolete, because we just cannot. So, I know people don't, they're afraid of automation, there's something's going to go wrong. 20 years ago, we bought IPS, intrusion prevention systems, but we never implemented the prevention piece of it because we were so afraid that, we're going to take an application down. So we spent lots of money on intrusion prevention systems, but made them glorified intrusion detection systems. So we're going through a similar thinking now with AI and automation. But the threat actors are so sophisticated, the volume of attacks is so high that you have to absolutely have automation. And what Stratagem is doing, and what we did at the last cybersecurity forum, is we demonstrated, we had a live hack right here where we demonstrated that we can contain a malicious event in less than 3 minutes. So now what I said to my team is, I said, we demonstrated this to a whole bunch of people in this forum. Now we've got to take it to our customers and implement it for our customers. But people are afraid, and people always keep saying to me, so what's going to happen if we automate this? Is it going to have any negative impact? And I always keep saying we're taking baby steps. We said we're taking baby steps with automation because that is the key. We take baby steps, and as we become more comfortable, it's almost like AI. Okay, so we're taking baby steps with AI. We're understanding AI. We're taking baby steps. We've got to take baby steps with automation, because the future of security operations is in automation. I do not see in 2 years or 3 years having large teams of people being incident handlers. I think the role of a security analyst is going to change. They are no longer going to be incident handlers. You saw with what Rafi was talking about with Fortinet, what they're doing with their, detecting the threat rapidly. You saw what Recorded Future is doing with their use of AI. So now you have the tools. The question becomes is, how do we take all these tools that we have, integrate them all? So that's what Stratagem, we built the cybersecurity mesh architecture. So we're integrating all these tools so we can make very good decisions on whether something is good or bad, and if it's bad, we want to contain it within 5 minutes. And I think that is going to be the transformative way. And the benefits are going to be both. For Stratagem, we're going to be able to support a lot more customers with fewer people. For our customers, it's going to meet lower costs because of the effective use of AI. So I'm very excited. I think, with this AI and this automation, the future is going to be a lot of fun.
John, are you saying AI is cheap? All right.
Mohammed, you had a comment?
AI is not cheap, but then there's nothing cheap. It's how you use the tools, how you use the tools to develop and to detect and to contain in real time.
No, I'm totally agree with you. I think the security analyst role will actually get more decision making and probably need more savvy security analysts. I don't disagree with that. I'm totally on board that the SOC will have fewer people. Absolutely, yeah.
And just in terms, we're already using this in terms of EDRs, like on endpoint detection. So it's on endpoints, so we are a bit comfortable. But an organization like CAMH, where we still communicate with external entities so much, but majority of the stuff is contained within, So automating the response from perimeter security, like the firewalls, that can be automated. It's baby step, but we can block ourselves. Who cares about email for 2 hours or 3 hours if there is, we block ourselves and we contain ourselves because there is very little, we still are communicating, but majority, I will say 95% of what we do is within our environment. So we can at least automate the external, which is most of the time, that's how they come. And we will have your EDR and so it is easier to implement for organization like us and say, hey, the parameter, we're gonna do baby step or maybe even be quite aggressive, than in automation.
Sorry, Vivek, you have a comment?
No.
Okay, good. Let's do a quick time check to see if we have time for one more question. All right, okay, so Vivek, any closing thoughts with regards to your take on fully automated, AI integrated security controls?
I know it's easy to think, hey, this guy's just selling tomatoes and eggs. Who cares, 20 million Canadians every day depend on food and medicine, and we learned through COVID, that was critical. And, we have 280,000 people working every day, and we want to keep them working too. There's a job vacancy right now, 1.2 million and climbing. What's going to fill that gap is AI. But, I want to put a couple of caution words because I'm gangbusters, everything's been AI oriented, and, I don't talk to any vendors that don't have AI in their product or strategy. So, Fortinet is in, Recorded Future is in, Stratagem is in. How could you build a plan without it? How could a company have a plan without it? So, but there's a bunch of cautions too. One is cost, right? And so when you're training your model, that's very expensive. So when you're using somebody else's trained model and they give it to you for free, don't think it's free, right? Training is very, very expensive. And that's why the stock price of NVIDIA has gone through the roof, right? Because people want that really powerful compute. And once you've got your model trained, then, the questions may not be so expensive. Then there's the cheap part, right? The easy part. But that expensive investment up front, if you haven't tracked the provenance, the quality of the data, the lineage of the data, the consent to use that data, that money could evaporate, right? Because all of these ideas around tracking the use of that data from a privacy perspective, from a regulatory perspective, are all going to come to light. So you might as well start with that anticipation now. It's an exciting time. I think everyone should be super excited to be alive at this moment. It's almost like, in 1981 when internet went big. This is so big, it's just going to change every job. And I just, when I encounter people, I try to get them on the app, and I know John's been handing out books, it's going to change every job. It's going to change everything we do. You can't even mark students now. Write me a Shakespearean sonnet. That's not a thing a student can hand in now because it's so easily available, right? So we have to rethink how we learn. We have to rethink how we process. We have to even rethink the concept of intellectual property because people would study art and make paintings, But now when Gen AI generates the painting, all of a sudden it's a hoopla. People will read papers and do consulting, and now Gen AI generates New York Times ingested data. Now it's, so we're at a big pivot, and some of these issues were not an AI issue at all. These were just societal issues that weren't properly dealt with. So super exciting time, and we're short of people, we're short of skills, and we get our existing talented people to retrain, relearn, and educate them, choose the right exclusions, and benefit from this technology. Because, like I said, like John was saying, in 2 years from now, like imagine how little we know right now, but imagine in 2 years from now when this is even further developed, LLMs talking to LLMs, that maybe the LLM will do a QA before the human, and now we can even process even more. So super exciting time.
Beautifully said. Bobby, what's your take on fully automated AI integrated systems?
For that.
Closing thoughts.
Fair. Look, like I said, we have a chatbot for the last 7 years that we're using based on machine learning. I think so. Nothing against AI. I think I wasn't suggesting AI is not here to stay. I think I was more cautious to say, I think to John's point earlier that we haven't really solved the fundamental problems at time, and we're hoping AI will solve it. That's not the answer. So that's what I was just saying earlier. That just take a step back, understand how to make best use of AI. And I'm not against the vendors. Vendors have AI for whatever various reasons. I just don't think we're sometimes able to consume that AI, the capabilities that vendors and other organizations are bringing to us. So I just want to make sure that my organization and the folks that I deal with have really skill set to use that technology as well. So that was just my cautionary tale. But no, I think Vivek is right. It is pretty exciting time. I think the dynamics on how we even educate students today will change in the next couple of years. We're definitely going to need a different skill set. So we're in with the automation. I think the automation piece we love a lot. I think we'll be using a lot of ServiceNow and other features today, and Ansible Towers. If you think about how we automate, when I joined the organization, it used to take us probably a week to procure a server and the computer and the database. Now it takes literally, I can't even imagine, 30 seconds, I think. No self-serving models that we're given developers to create a CI/CD pipeline. So I think if you look at where we're going with the tech, I'm totally on board. I think there's use cases after use cases I can come up with that are good, that can actually help us get there faster, cheaper. My only comment again back is, my comfort level today is, from a 100% perspective, the fact that it can do everything right all the time. Because our impact is too high, it's not there yet. If I was in a different industry, that maybe my comfort level is there to say, yeah, I can automate and use more AI. We're in a very regulatory environment. Every time we have an issue, I have more headaches to deal with, so I'd rather not have that. So from that point of view, human in the loop, for example, is still my go-to at this point. Maybe in the next 6 months or 2 years, to John's point, that will totally change, and we'll be all reliant on AI, and LLMs can talk to LLMs, and we will have our own TMX LLM as well. It's all good. I think we're heading in that direction, but just as of today, I think we're just being cautionary.
Wonderful. Nimira, any closing thoughts on fully automated security controls led by AI?
I think we have a trajectory to get there. We've started down that path, and I'll tell you, seeing is believing. And I'll take you away from the cybersecurity front. Being, on the CTO side, you get exposure to other technologies. So we've recently got a brand new building that we've put up. It's the Patient Support Center. And if you haven't seen it, please go check it out. Fantastic building. But what do we want to do? We want to make it a smart building. And so when you say it's a smart building, what do we have in place? We've replaced our network, and it's now a software-defined networking. And the ability with software-defined networking is the ability to be able to detect a potential failure in some of the switches or network gear and automatically rerouting it. So there's AI built into our network equipment to be able to say, it's about to fail, reroute the traffic, alert the network service engineer to come in and replace it. But in the meantime, the systems are up and running. So the job description of a network service analyst changes from physically going in when the system is down to being able to say, I'm notified, I know something's about to go wrong, work is taking place, but I then need to be able to understand what's happened. And so I think that's given us hope to say we can see it on the cyber side as well, to see where that goes. The question that I have at this point in time is thinking about how quickly can we get there, and how do we get the business to buy into it? As soon as the level of risk increases, that I think is the worry. So as the technologies come forward, I really want us to be able to focus and bring the business along with us as quickly as possible. You know, Vivek, I think, mentioned cyber is not a technology project. And at SickKids, it's only a couple of weeks ago where we switched our thinking. You know, when we go forward with capital asks, we put in an ask for cyber work, and it comes in as if it's coming from the technology teams. And it's difficult. Do you provide money to put in your cyber resilience in cyber recovery strategies, or do you hire, 50 nurses that can provide care? But the question is not that. The question is, what if your systems went down? Will the nurses and doctors be able to provide the care that they can? And so how do we make the business partners? How do they understand the impact of not investing and providing that support for everybody else? So it's there. We need to bring the business along. And with SickKids, I think it's no secret that we did go through a cyber attack. We had a ransomware attack, and we went through the experience. And that was a really good way for people to understand how cyber is actually part of the business. So this is something we certainly should be continuing to champion within all of the IT and cyber departments.
Absolutely. Mohammed, over to you. What's your take on critical security controls led by AI?
I thought I'd already answered this. Yeah? No? Okay.
Give us a refresher. Huh? Give us a refresher, and then we'll hear from Vivek.
Okay. Yeah, I think we do have to embrace, but baby steps and involving business and. But it's the technology is here. There's so much to benefit from, and the key is to make sure that we look at all angles. Yeah.
Absolutely. Vivek, you want to share something?
No, just a quick story. Like, the business wants to go fast. The business wants to win. Okay, so picture a Maserati. Okay, you're going to go fast. Beautiful car, but imagine how fast you're willing to drive if it doesn't have brakes. So 5 years ago, when we started looking at a fully autonomous truck, we had the ML, 36 sensors all around it, LiDAR, radar, sonar, optical, and it was running. So MTO wanted us to do 100,000 kilometers flawless with that. And the business is like, what's the pro? Well, getting fresh food frequently at lower cost to all the stores, running routes that are hard, being able to run the routes through the night safely. That's the prize, right? No road rage in the driver. And, business saying, well, what if that truck goes into another car or a school bus or a building? That could be really brand impacting. And this is where we came up with the brakes. So, in those trucks, there's actually a separate system that activates the brakes, disconnected from the AI and the computer. You cannot drive it into another car. You cannot drive it into another wall, even if it gets hacked. Obviously, doing a lot of pen testing on those vehicles. But we have to find those guardrails and those brakes, because if we don't help the business go fast, they can't win. And winning doesn't mean money. It means delivering the service. It means delivering the healthcare. It means executing the trades. I mean, all those things the business wants to do. It's a highly competitive world, and the tempo is picking up, not just for cyber threats, for their business as well. So it's how do we make them go faster, and what guardrails do we put in? And we're seeing more and more companies are doing that with AI. Yeah.
Wonderful. I think we're going to take some questions from the floor. Eugene is going to walk, and Dharma are going to walk around with microphones. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand.
Hello. My question is for Bobby. So you are critical to our economy, $500 billion daily transaction. My question focused on post-quantum computing. Yes. And it is vulnerable. Your transaction could be vulnerable in coming years. So what are your takes on that specific aspect?
Really good question. We've been talking about quantum for the last 5-7 years as well. And so I'll give you two answers. So one is it's on our risk radar. So we've been tracking quantum, the progress. There's an institution out of University of Waterloo that we actually speak quite regularly with, especially in the financial institution, that financial sector Vivek is quite familiar with. We also have a quantum group that we actually talk to as well. And the idea is the fact that we're tracking our risk to make sure that we don't lose sight of it. It gets measured every year, what state it's in today in the marketplace, what organizations are doing, what our peers are doing in this space versus the vendors that are probably more critical. And so that's one aspect of it. It's getting tracked. But the information I keep getting from the experts that are actually working with quantum computers today, qubits and so forth, that it continues to slip. There aren't that many quantum computers out there, first of all. I know Google has one, and IBM may or may not have one. There's a bunch of them in China, I heard. But the idea is that the productionizing of the qubits is really, really difficult. So every time I have spoken to experts, at least every year annually, as I mentioned earlier, the dates keep slipping. The last I heard 7 years ago was 10 years out. Last year was still 10 years out. So really can't answer the question specifically when it's going to come out, but the approach we've taken is that we actually are talking to our peers, we have industry forums, and certainly it's on our risk register as well.
Any other questions from the audience?
Hello, hi. Thank you for the amazing insights. My name is Mohammed Sami. I am a student of cybersecurity at Loyalist College in Toronto. Previously, I've worked for 4 years as a network and security specialist, so I've worked closely with Fortinet, where I have used a lot of products with them. So my concern was where we have everyone, all of the leaders, right from retail to healthcare to financial sector. When we talk about Forti AI, and we saw an amazing recorded feature, like a future recorded from where we see banks, as he gave us an example. I'm pretty sure that the way AI will be working in the upcoming years is that the more the data we feed in, the better the intelligence will, the Fortinet or other vendors will be able to spread across the world. And the data that will be coming from multiple sources, maybe on premises, from devices like FortiGate, FortiEDR, FortiSwitches. My question comes to you guys as consumers of the industry. How well are we doing to empower our clients and our users to give them the power to opt in or opt out of how much information can be used from my premises to be fed into this AI? Or how well are we doing to give the confidence, because I've been closely working with Middle Eastern clients, or when we see as Europe under GDPR, how well are we giving the confidence to clients that you will be having that power in hand, that something like this, or you can opt in or opt out from what is the kind of data that can be used from your premises to be fed into the AI to empower products like Forti AI?
So, look, I don't really have a good answer. I think the question is really great, and we struggle with that all the time. Especially when a vendor comes to you and says, we have this great AI, you have to think about where they're getting these LLMs or AIs from. It's all the other customers. And then you're part of that equation. So you're actually trying to figure out, okay, so exactly to your point, how much data are they using for me to populate their LLMs for that matter? So the analogy I end up using is, we all been using Google for a decade and Google Translate and other services or web services. And if you ever looked at Google T's and C's, it clearly says that every search query that you put in Google is owned by Google. Every Google Translate you use, document you put in for translate from English to French or vice versa, is owned by Google. So we already given them some permissions to use to make them intelligent as well. So all we have done in the organization today is we actually asking the vendors today or solution providers that are coming in, and when everyone that says we are AI or ML based, we're actually asking how are they getting the AI? Is the data that they're going to extract from us, is that eventually to some degree the pseudonymized or whatever else the case is? So those are the discussions happening today. I honestly have not gotten a good answer from my vendors yet. Maybe Fortinet has one, but I still struggle with that. But the flip side of that is, what is my risk? Do I care at the end of the day if they take the data, right? If it's not going to be publicized using TMX or Toronto Stock Exchange name, do I even care for that matter? So it actually does become a risk management exercise at the end of the day as well. Yeah, anyway.
I'll just add to that from a healthcare perspective, it's very, very similar. I think you do need to understand what the risk is, but when you're dealing with patient data, one of the things we definitely mandate is to say we need to create our own secure environment where we can actually have that sandbox to play with. So that's constantly to think about, to say we've got an environment in the cloud. So if it's a cloud-based services, it is protected, it is ours. Or if it's on-prem, we do provide that protected environment as well. So we do try and put the controls in place. But certainly I think the risk conversation happens on a daily and a regular basis to say, what is the risk? And if there is any slight risk, then how do we mitigate that risk? And is that something that is under regulation or out of the regulation zone?
Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Fahad Iqbal and I'm in industry for more than 2 decades. I have a question for Vivek. There is so much thing about IoT nowadays also. So Vivek, can you give us a use case of how the AI is being integrated with the IoT and the data you guys process? Like some use cases for us,
Sure.
you know.
First of all, it's important to understand why IoT is hot now, because it's been around for forever. You know, there were IT networks and there were OT systems that 20 years ago were always separate. So your elevator was not on your corporate network, your signs, your escalator. And what happened was the protocols started to converge and overlap, and then it became easy. Hey, you know, I need to get to the temperature sensor on this box. I'll just route it through IP and out to the internet. So the networks came together, the cultures never did. So that's number one. Number two, the proliferation of IoT devices has gone through the roof. If you look at your home, you look in a hospital, you look in a grocery store, IoT is everywhere. And you know, I started tackling this problem actually 15 years ago. And my first thought was anomaly detect. I mean, we had good ML models and we could say, hey, you know what? The device is so small, it doesn't have CPU, it doesn't have much memory, it can't even probably protect itself. It's probably password protected or a single key. So your best hope is try to detect the nefarious activity and then, you know, dive on the hand grenade or disconnect it. But even that is overwhelming because the numbers we're talking about are staggering. So, you know, my personal approach and thinking is you're better off segmenting IoT and protecting the zones than trying to use AI to monitor individual IoT devices. There's too many. The strategy of trying to process that information, to me, didn't make sense anymore. Like, keep an eye on the perimeter, separate the network zones, and go from there. You know, like we have technologies that can create those segments on the fly, in the cloud and on-prem, and that to me seems more sustainable.
Sorry, the only add-on to Vivek's point, which I agree, we have segmented the network as well for the IoT perspective, is predictive analytics. So I think you touched base on that as well from the SDN network point of view. So we're actually very much focused for the last many years on identifying which ones are going to fail in the next few hours, a few days, or whatever the criteria you have put in there. Now, again, I'm not sure how good they are from an accuracy point of view, but I'm sure they hit the mark 80% of the time, which is good enough. But it's the predictive analytics piece is the way the AI kind of comes into play, is predicting to say about this video camera, which is IoT, could go out in the next month or whatever, and you get alerts that you can replace it before that happens if you don't have a spare. So that's the only use case I have today.
I think, you know, especially in the IoT space, because it's so, each device is a nickel, and you're going to spend $1 million securing a nickel device at a time. We got to be careful not to put AI on the wrong problems too. Like if a video camera like talks to China, you know, and you don't have a supplier managing your cameras in China, that's probably doesn't need AI to figure that out. If you have 10 failed password attempts on your admin interface of an internet-facing device, probably shouldn't have that internet-facing, but if you did, you don't need AI to do that. So it goes back to John's point, like we got to do all the basics, you know, and don't try to, you know, it says like the carpenter is a hammer looking for a nail. Don't become that with AI. There's still a lot of clean, crisp problems and ways to solve them efficiently. And, you know, that's why, like, to me, network segmentation, whether it's SD-WAN or cloud or not, you can do things clean and then, you know, save AI for the problems that deserve it, right?
I think we have one more question, so let's take that last question.
Sorry, I was just thinking ahead and came up with a hypothetical question. Let's say in the current age, we are, attackers are using Gen AI as an attack tool, right? Let's say in the near future, in the age of self-aware AI, where the AI becomes the attacker itself. So I was thinking about the concepts like Third World War, and why I'm asking is like, let's say both technology and fiction, they came from ideas, human ideas. So in fiction, we have concepts like Skynet, Ultron. So what if that becomes real? Can we really protect against it? I just want everyone's opinion, that's it.
Well, in the US, every year for the last 10 years, there is an AI attack game. And researchers bring AI-powered robots, not physically attacking each other, but they don't know the operating system of their adversary. Sometimes those operating systems have been customized. So each of these have to scan their opponents, develop exploits on the fly, and all the meanwhile protect themselves. And that's been happening every year for 10 years. So it's not future, and it's not science fiction. It's already happening. But take out the G. There's no AGI yet, general artificial intelligence. This is just, LLMs and ML and, good training data.
I call it if-then statements. With that said, I would like to thank all the panelists, and if you can give them a round of applause. I hope that everyone here is inspired to embrace AI, positioning ourselves not to just play mere catch-up, but to lead in its adoption. With this, I'm pleased to invite Nisreen to the stage and would request John to graciously present our esteemed panelists with a token of appreciation for their valuable time and dedication in joining us today.
Thank you. Not needed, but not necessary, but thank you. Good questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you so much once again. As a final part of this forum, I would love to call on the next slide here, Pransh. If you could call up a QR code for feedback. We're going to do some prizes as well for everybody that is going to register and give us their feedback. So give everyone 2 minutes, and in the interim, I'll call up my team to help with the prize giveaways. with the first winner.
It's the first name of the second one.
Mohammed Samir Balsari.
Oh.
Mohammed.
Oh, we don't have to clap for this, guys. That's okay. It's one of our names. Let me know.
Karen Belinsky. Nice. Arun Chima.
No.
Arun Chima. You can come up and get it for her. Okay. It's a friend. Sorry.
Quick, what color is your hair?
Anthony Fernando.
Oh, right there.
Anthony. Yep. Vahab Al Wahat. Vahab Al Wahat. Is it here? Not here.
It's Vibo.
Vibo. I guess I pronounced that incorrectly. Okay, I don't think they're here. If you... No. Okay. Sahil Preet Singh. Nope. Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
no, he's right
Sahil Preet, there you are. Okay. Muhtaz As-Sayed.
I know that guy.
Optics. Pradeep Ganesh.
No. Okay.
Bicky Goyet.
No.
Is that him?
Oh, yes. Okay. I gotta stop something else fast.
Fahad Iqbal. Alfonso Gomez.
Oh, right there.
Paul Ackerman.
Oh, right there. Just take one.
Malik Baroud. He's not here. Not here. Kumar Shanu. No. Too late. Joshua D'Souza. Is that Joshua? Okay.
I know him. I'm gonna give me the goal. Shit. I know who that is. I'm gonna give me the goal stuff after. I know he doesn't go.
Saeed Warzmi.
Oh, there he is.
Back there.
And last but not least, I would just say that.
Cynthia Ensnard.
Oh, and that's it.
All right, thank you so much, everybody. As our forum concludes, I want to just, close this off. Really appreciate everybody's time today. There was a lot of insights to be had. The whole idea of these forums are to essentially bring you live topics that are going to enrich the community for cyber. So if there are any future events that you guys are interested in Stratagem running, please do contact me personally, and we're more than happy to put on future events for topics that are topical and also going to add a lot of value. But with that being said, I want to thank everybody for their time. It's been a pleasure. Have a great evening.